because we're going to move on to Ballon d'Or nominees. That kind of set everyone alight this week. It is an international break, so of course we are reaching for anything to set us alight. The 30-man shortlist was announced this week. Of course, Leo Messi is leading the way with the odds makers, but does a certain Erling Haaland deserve to win more? Wait. Not me saying this, but Craig Burley might think so.
Tell you what, do us all a favour, and if Erling Haaland doesn't win this, close the shop. Close the shop. Lionel Messi won the World Cup. It's a great achievement, right? But it's a 4-week period. His general league form was not the best. PSG were terrible. Erling Haaland, over 50 goals, a Premier League title, domestic, was it the FA Cup? The FA Cup, Gunda one goal at the start, should remember that, and the Champions League. Erling Haaland should win this award. And now I know a lot of people out there can't get off the Messi bandwagon, right? But look at the bigger picture, and there's going to be a lot of Muppet journos voting for Messi. The big picture here is Erling Haaland achieved everything over a long period of time, and for me, as you know, this award, like a few awards, drive me nuts. But he's the one that I think deserves it. But I'm a bit like Jan. I think out there it'll be full of sentimental claptrap. Messi won the World Cup. Messi's this, Messi's that, and they'll just hand him another one. And if I was Erling Haaland, I'd never go back to another Ballon d'Or in my life.
Well, I hope we don't have two Muppet journos here with us, but in case we do, let's find out now. So, Rob, we'll start with you. Leo Messi or Erling Haaland?
Thanks for that, Alexis. That's great.
Well, we're going to find out now by Craig's standards. If you go with Messi, you may just be a sentimental Muppet journo.
I am going to label myself a Muppet journo because I think that Messi should get it. I understand Craig's argument, and it should be very, very close. But the World Cup is still the pinnacle of football, and Lionel Messi not only won it, but dragged his country over the line in the biggest tournament in world football. Now, even that will be up for debate. Is the Champions League a bigger tournament than the World Cup? In my opinion, the World Cup is still bigger. Lionel Messi was Argentina's standout player in that tournament, and they won it. For that reason, I think that he deserves to win the Ballon d'Or. I understand that the argument that says that Erling Haaland should win it. He had a fantastic season. City cleaned up in Europe and domestically, and he scored the goals to help them do that. And I do feel slightly sorry for Haaland that he probably won't win it this year, because if it was not a World Cup year, he certainly would win it and should win it. But I think Messi will win it and probably deserves to do so. Sorry, Craig, I'm up it.
Augie, what about you? Are you jumping on the Muppet bandwagon too?
No, I'm not having that. I'm not. Seriously, I mean, first of all, the World Cup was 2022, so it wasn't even this year. So the Ballon d'Or the vote could have been delayed a couple of weeks last year to incorporate the World Cup. So it's obviously it's not a World Cup year. It's a year on, and you know, Messi winning the World Cup, yeah, it's a big deal. Of course it is. It was a great thing to watch, a great story at the time, but if that means you have to win a World Cup or play in a World Cup to be a candidate, then, you know, Erling Haaland's never going to win it. He might never get there with Norway, and that's not his fault. It's just, you know, unfortunate on his part that he plays for a nation that qualifies for the World Cup on a sporadic basis. And as great as a player he is, you know, it's just not, you can't use that as a barometer because it's not a fair gauge. And I think, you know, Messi was terrible at PSG the second half of last season. He was awful. In the Champions League, he barely got a kick because he was playing against the top players in the world in the Champions League. You don't play against the best players in the world in the World Cup. You play against the best nations. The World Cup has fallen so far in terms of the standard over the years. It's nowhere near the Champions League. So winning the World Cup, it's great, whatever, but it's not as big as, or it's not as hard as winning the Champions League, I don't think. So Haaland has done that. He's won a treble. He's been an amazing goal scorer. I think Haaland wins it every time. But Rob, listen, if winning the World Cup is part of the criteria to win the Ballon d'Or, give it to Julian Alvarez. He won the World Cup and the treble.
Listen, I was going to throw in man like Julian because, I got a lot of time for him. And so much so because the interview that we recently did with him, Frank Leboeuf commented under my picture and said, this is the man that should win the Ballon d'Or. He's literally completed football at 23 years old. Now, you can argue how much of an involvement he had. I mean, he has had some really clutch goals because you can also look, Calvin Phillips won a treble. Are you going to nominate him for Ballon d'Or as well? So, I mean, Rob, what do you think?
Can I stress, Alexis, because a lot of fans will say it's a fix. They've said this over the years that, it's a fix that Messi wins it, or it's a fix that Ronaldo wins it. So basically the voting system of the Ballon d'Or is 100 journalists from 100 FIFA top-ranked nations. So it's one journalist from each country. So one journalist from the top 100 ranked nations. So basically, the journalist from Argentina will vote for Messi, but why would anybody else vote for Messi on the basis that, he won a World Cup? I just don't get it. I don't get these individual awards. And I think Messi and Ronaldo have taken the Ballon d'Or to a really weird level in recent years. It's become this celebrity thing that everyone's obsessed about, which, I don't think it's a real measure of the greatness of players. I just think it's become a bit of a kind of a mini competition between those two. So I don't think fans saying it's a fix is out of order because it is a vote. So you have to kind of ask why 100 journalists think that if the vast majority pick Messi, then why is that?
Well, for the first time,
the issue is.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Rob.
the issue is with the award, isn't it? Really, it's not with Messi v Haaland. The issue, like Mark said, the issue is with the award. That it's very, very grey in terms of what it measures, and you're never going to see a goalkeeper, for example, winning the Ballon d'Or because you just don't have the goals and the assists and the acclaim that a striker does. So I don't necessarily see it as a Messi v Haaland issue. It's an issue with the award. That said, I will be proved right and Messi will win it.
Well, for the first time in 20 years, that's the lifetime of probably some of the viewers that are watching us right now. There is no Cristiano Ronaldo on this short list. Rob, no surprise?
No, it would have been a bigger surprise if he was on it because he's not played well for an awful long time. He wasn't great at the World Cup and he got dropped. He wasn't great for United in the couple of months that he had before then. He's moved to Saudi Arabia. He's playing in a league that at the moment is at a different level to the top 5 leagues in Europe.
So Lionel Messi.
I think he would have been. He won the World Cup and Ronaldo spent the second half of it on the bench. It would have been a bigger surprise if Ronaldo had been on the list, to be honest.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.